Welcome to the Vision Profiles podcast. Join us dedicated Apple Vision Pro users as we dive into everything from the hardware and software and apps and the latest updates in the world of Apple Vision Pro. I'm Marty, a faculty member at a Midwest University, a podcaster, and an Apple product fan.
And I'm Eric Bolden. I work in IT. I'm just trying to get rid of the swearing on my shirt. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it, Eric.
There's no swearing. It's just a word swear. It's got black tape.
Loud.
Okay, everybody needs to see the video now to see that Eric's like wearing a little bib to cover up his t-shirt.
Just use with.
So Eric, who are you?
I'm Eric Bolden. I work in IT, but my interest is in finding interesting ways to share content. Currently, photography of plants, birds, panoramic sequences. Well, I guess chickens are birds, but I might do a special chicken sequence coming up. Not today, though. They're getting big. They're teenagers now. They can fly all the way across the water tank.
Now, breaded or grilled, or what kind of chicken are you going to?
There goes the hand pump.
David?
You know.
And I'm Dave Ginsburg, and I am a recent Vision Pro user, but glad to be here. And I am a podcaster on In Touch with iOS. Thanks for having me.
Okay. It's great. We've got some interesting things coming up in the next couple of weeks with WWDC. David has a headset, and obviously we'll be following the news with WWDC. So I think he's going to be joining us for the next couple of shows. Daniel couldn't be here tonight. He had we record on Memorial Day, and he had some Memorial Day plans. He'll be with us next week. And so we'll have a full show. As we get less and less news, it's nice to have a full show, because that means more people can talk about stuff with things. Today's episode, we'll cover Vision Pro news and share some great apps. Any news about your week? Anything you'd like to share? Anything new with the Vision Pro for you?
No, I mentioned to you earlier, I had my nephew was big in town and got to see him yesterday. And I asked him, hey, have you ever tried the Vision Pro before? Would you like to try it? He's like, yeah, I'd love to see what it does. And so I just set it up, and then I had him watch Immersed. And I watched him as he was with the headset on. His dad's taking pictures of him with the headset on, laughing, because he's moving around. And I heard him jump a few times, and we know parts that movie's seen.
Yep.
That I figured it'd be a perfect short movie for him to check it out. And yeah, he really digged it. So
yeah.
Again,
how old was he? Can I ask?
He's 21.
Oh, okay.
He's young.
All right.
Yeah. So I got a kick out of it, and I'm glad he was able to try it out, because a lot of these kids don't get a chance to do that, and they're not into it as much as we are going to the Apple stores every other day. So,
yeah.
But
Eric, anything new with you? Any new uses or anything you're trying?
Not really. I haven't had a chance to try it yet. You know how in the middle of the night you see it like an ad and you think, wow, this must be really interesting, and you get it, and then you kind of wonder. And I'm still wondering, but somebody had stickers that you can get to put over all of the side bits of the headset to add textures, so that you can feel where the various spots are. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it keeps it so it doesn't wear out. I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but it just showed up. So
it should give a nice, good glue residue on your Apple Vision Pro.
Oh, is that so it on the sides so you can feel it, or?
Yeah. It ships with a whole bottle of really sticky stuff that I'm not sure I'm willing to try.
Yeah, I would be kind of concerned to do that.
Yeah, those things can also dissolve the rubber coatings too. So
yeah, no. Not for what it costs.
So at some point I might feel dangerous and try something, probably with a different glue, but something temporary.
Did you really need texture to figure out where things were on the side of the device?
I'm sure it was the middle of the night, and it seemed like a good idea while I was reading the post.
I have a whole closet full of impulse buys that sometime I'm going to have to clean out and go through the personal shame of the stuff that I bought that I ended up never using. I went to the Apple store today because I'm doing a presentation on AI at MacStock, and I figured let's find out how the Apple Store does it. And it was interesting. I brought my wife. This was my gift to her for Memorial Day. I made her go to the Apple Store with me. And she got into it more than I thought she would. One of the things she recognized in the store that we were in, it was so loud, but it wasn't really crowded, but it was loud. And it would be really great if there was a separate room for the training. And I think some of the new stores are building in side rooms for that purpose because it was just too loud to hear. Well, you could, but it was just distracting to hear the directions and what people were doing, what the instructor was trying to do. She did a fine job. She went through a lot of stuff. You know, Eileen has large text on her screen because of visual stuff. So I talked to the woman and she said they do have like accessibility programs that you can schedule, and they have them for different things like vision, sound, texture, those kinds of things. And it's not really on the schedule, but you go into group scheduling and you ask for some specifics, and you get the opportunity then, I think, to kind of get your own personal little or small group opportunity to get some training. And I think it would be helpful for her to be able to get somebody to show her some of the accessibility stuffs around vision. So that was it was generally a good experience. I spent a little bit more time with my Apple Vision Pro, not going into immersive videos. I had some plans of things I wanted to watch, and then I wound up watching something through Paramount Plus. And it was, it wasn't immersive, it wasn't spatial, but it was enjoyable just to watch a movie like that. So I wound up sitting in my small room here watching a movie instead of going downstairs on the couch. So yeah, that was pretty much my week with Vision Pro. We've got a couple of apps later to share with you that we think are good apps. Eric found them, and we have some experiences to talk about. So let's get into it. No betas this week, obviously. And I check every day. Who knows? Maybe they'll roll one out tomorrow, but I don't think we're going to see anything. We're on 2.5, and we've got access to Apple Intelligence, although if you search for it, they don't talk about Apple Intelligence in Vision Pro. I've done multiple searches, but you open it up on 2.5 on the current public beta, or I don't know if you call it a public beta. What would you call it, Dave? Just the current?
No, it's developer beta.
Well, it's also available public, though, isn't it? It's RC.
Vision Pro? No, not Vision Pro.
Oh, so they're still running 2.
I mean, as far as who's running right now, everybody's running 2.5 because that was already released. But if you're talking about the next beta, I believe they've never had a public beta of it, have they?
No. But what I'm saying is the current one, the 2.5, allows you to do Apple Intelligence.
That's
but you can't find that by doing any searches. Apple doesn't talk about it.
Yeah.
But for those of you who are interested in it, you can go in and set it up just by going through your system setting. It comes up as one of the general tabs. I don't think it's even in general. It comes up with the system setting. It's one of the tabs in Apple. It's Apple Intelligence and Siri. It gives you some options to switch on that stuff. So nothing new with betas yet, but I'm glad that Dave joined us tonight because I know he's a big YouTube fan and a big, Bono fan is you too. But Eric earlier this week said, "Hey, have you seen this?" I'll come to terms now. I was not excited about the new released Stories of Surrender that came out, that they're producing, that Apple produced and was produced for Apple Vision Pro. But the trailer they had on it a couple of weeks ago was all very flat and not very exciting to watch. And it seemed like it was Bono just rambling on and on and on when you wanted a music experience. So Eric, a couple of days ago, says, "Hey, have you seen this?" And he sends me the link to it. The link will be in the show notes. And it is a bonus content that if you have a Vision Pro, you can put it on and you can go to Apple TV, and there there will be, those slides that come by, or you can find it for the Stories of Surrender, which is going to be released this Friday, and that's the full 2 hour or so video. But this is a kind of bonus content, or bonus content is what they call it. But it's immersive. Eric just kind of said, "Hey, take a look at this. Maybe we want to talk about this." And then I got it, and it was like blown away by it. Interesting use of the art form and the spatial. And so today I mentioned it to Dave. Dave then looked at it. Dave, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, at first I was kind of like, oh, wow, this is a lot of animation. I don't know how excited I'm going to be for that. But then I start seeing the audience, and then this is a solo with Bono. I mean, this is really him talking about his book, more or less kind of a documentary type movie of his life and his music. And he's going to sing you 2 songs. But it was starting to get very immersive. And how ironic. I mean, the day before, because I was talking about the Metallica session and immersive video, and I went and watched it again because I hadn't watched it. I only watched it like maybe 2 times, so I wanted to watch it again. And again, I was just like blown away. The same thing. It was just the immersiveness of being there and getting into the music. And the songs they played are popular, and I know them, and just fun watching the band go do their stuff. So this one's going to be, I just from what I saw in the trailer, it's going to be more of this just Bono on stage, and he's singing. He's got some accompanying musicians, but the Edge isn't going to be there.
He has a quartet.
He's like a quartet with them. Yeah, so I think I'm thinking it's going to be pretty cool if what they showed without the animation. I mean, maybe the animation's going to be there and just only in small parts. I don't know, because we're seeing a trailer. So. But I've been looking forward to this for a while, and I'd be interested to know. They haven't said how long this movie's going to be yet. At least I haven't seen it. But it's supposed to be feature length, I would think, maybe hour and a half. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, that'll be interesting itself if anybody can actually sit through an hour and a half movie on Vision Pro. I just don't know how long it's going to be. Maybe it'll keep it to an hour. Hard to say. I think everybody's going to be pretty excited about it. I mean, the thing is, there's not a lot of Vision Pro users out there that are going to look at this. I just went and looked at Apple TV, and I see it here. I didn't watch it on here, but I'm sure it's not anywhere near as the experience. I'm curious to see what it'll look like on there. I'll watch it after the show and see. But it isn't going to be anything compared to.
So the bonus content is on Apple TV.
Well, it says trailer. You can tell. Stories of the Surrender trailer. I mean, I've got it muted. I'll just kind of just watch in silence here. But yeah,
I think the trailer is different than the bonus immersive preview.
It looks like it. Yeah, I'm just playing it now, and it's silent. It looks like the same him on stage and talking to singing to the audience, and it doesn't have anywhere near the it's like watching a movie.
Yeah.
So, but I think they're going to show this I thought they were going to show this in the theaters too. Are they not? Because I
think so.
I think they are. And then this is just only people that go watch this. Beyond that, it's going to be on Vision Pro, from my understanding. But again, I could be wrong. Showing because it's an Apple original film, of course, they're going to show it's going to be headlined.
I think
trailer
for
right
those
here, so.
Those who don't have a Vision Pro, it would be nice just to do the 2D version of it, and I think it would be good. To be shown in on platforms that are 2D. My guess is that they're going to run it in Vision Pro for, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks before they would do anything like that anyways.
Right.
But, Eric, what was your experience of the bonus content?
That made a huge difference. Because I watched the preview, and it was okay. And I figured, well, once we got the whole complete video, that would be even better. But I appreciated the other layers. There were a couple of TV shows that did a nice job of incorporating a mix of animation and live actor and kind of going back and forth and using it to kind of emphasize things. And I kind of find that fun. Some people might find it distracting, but I enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to the whole thing.
For folks who are listening or even watching, the animation we're talking about is part of this immersive bonus content trailer.
Right.
And it is like line drawing is about the best way to describe it. It's like somebody took a glass pencil and kind of drew on top of it animation of things that are happening. So a far shot from the back of the room of Bono on the stage with the crowd, you're getting like little images that they had outlined of people in the crowd. And those lines will move a little bit. And then there'll be some cases where the lines go outside of the video in a way. And so then it'll cut to like on stage shots of Bono, from the back or from the front, and you're getting that spatial photography without any of the animation around you. So it looks like they're using the animation mainly for wide shots. At least in the trailer, Dave and I were chatting, and he's like, "I hope this isn't all animation like this because it's distracting." And I don't think they would do that, because the onstage shots of Bono in the in the spatial photography thing is just as powerful, if not more powerful, than Metallica, because you're watching the artist, you're not watching the drummer going crazy, which
Right.
you're really watching the artist and experiencing him from that. So
I
I
will.
kind of thought maybe it was transitions that they were going to do the animation, as a way of taking immersive content and then another chunk of immersive content and then having something between the two.
Yeah.
But we won't know until we get the whole thing.
Or maybe part of this to emphasize the storyline. So as he's talking, stuff comes up that is symbolic of the storyline.
I'll correct myself. It's premiering streaming on May 30th on Apple TV Plus. So that's the only place it's going to stream. So it won't be in theaters. So I was mistaken. I went back and looked at the press release back from February. So it doesn't say how long it's going to be yet. I don't know. But unless that's out there, I'm sure that's out there somewhere. You can search for that.
Well, big news at Con, as I think we've heard already. It got a 6.5 minute standing ovation.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't understand from this photo why nobody seems to be happy in that photo. They're all kind of they're all kind of grimacy in that. So it'll be released worldwide on Apple TV Plus starting Friday, May 30th.
Yep.
And
it's coming Friday.
And then there's the advertisement, and basically where you can get the immersive trailer with it. So by going to Apple TV Plus now, if you want to see it. So
thank you, ChatGPT. 1 hour and 26 minutes.
Oh, okay. How does ChatGPT know these things?
I'm just amazed.
Is it an IMDb thing? Is it already an IMDb?
I pulled it from Khan and Wikipedia.
Oh, okay. All right. So next thing on the ticket, we've got some things to talk about tonight. Some of them are speculative, but interesting. News that have come out, filtered out, some of it through like Daring Fireball and other sources, talking about Apple Glasses and, the impact that says Apple to launch, and this comes from the Mac Observer, Apple to launch Smartglasses in 2026, and Apple drops the idea of putting watch cameras. Remember, there was some talk about having some type of sensor or camera on Apple Watches, but it looks like that's not going to be part of their design plan. And the article goes into foldable and other future devices. Oh, good. The fireworks are starting. My dog's going to love this stuff.
I hear it.
So, any thoughts about Apple Glasses?
It's nice to see that, somebody put a year and a date on their speculation.
Yeah, this is Mark Gurman, another Gurumer. And claims this comes out of Macworld, and the claim is that it's better made than Meta's now on tap for 2026. I can believe. I have the Ray-Ban Meta glasses, and they're interesting, but they're not there. We'll also be able to handle tasks such as phone calls, music playback, live translations, turn-by-turn directions. So all of those things. And then Google also announced plans to deliver a Gemini-based smart glasses. We'll talk about those later. And the idea, I guess, is the Apple glasses are going to be tied directly to your phone for that type of Apple Intelligence data that it's going to use.
So is that going to be something only for use while walking or sitting someplace?
Good question.
Well, why would you say that?
Can you drive with them, or is it considered a distraction? Or
I don't know. There are some pictures of prototypes, or at least graphic design pictures, like in this first, and I'll bring it up for the web view. This first website has directions coming up on the glass and then a superimposed flat map with your location on it. But you still have a relatively uninterrupted view of the environment. Of course, this is an artist's design of what they think it's going to be like. There has been nothing made clear about this in any of that. We have another article by Mac Rumors, Apple Smartglasses, everything we know so far, and gives a long story. And there's another image that could be a projected image in this, where the map is projected down on the ground as you're walking. Initially, Apple wanted the glasses to connect to iPhones, but iPhones lack sufficient power and battery life. The company then pivoted to using Macs as a power source, but executives ultimately were not convinced this approach would succeed, leading to this was an early attempt. Accordingly, Tim Cook remains hell-bent, that's in quotes. Can you see Tim Cook using words like hell-bent?
No way.
And they don't really give much. This is like all we know about it, and then they don't give much. They give a little bit of the history and where it's fallen and expected timeline. First smart glasses by the end of 2026.
I don't know. In my opinion, I think it's something Apple's looking at. Gurman's a very, very trustworthy source of being, and he's been correct many times about these types of rumors. But this seems something that Apple is going to take time with. I mean, it's but the thing is, Meta has already got theirs out and they're partnering with Ray-Ban with their glasses, and I'm sure others are looking at this as well. Samsung, look what happened with Samsung with their supposed Vision Pro killer. That's what we haven't heard a word about it since, have we? So where are these glasses going to be? I think of anything like it's going to be towards the end of it's like, we're gonna hold another year yet, like 2026. So Apple's going to take their time with it, just like they've backed off with Apple Intelligence. I mean, I'm glad. I applaud them for doing that and admitting that it is not ready. It's not up to their standard. And and I don't know if we're going to talk about the Johnny Ive with open AI with that, but that's another topic. But that's what's got to happen. Apple's going to have to look at that as well as AI, as well as these glasses, to see where it'll fit in their hardware lineup with this type of stuff. And they still got a Master and Vision Pro, and I don't know where that's going to go.
Eric, are you going to get some glasses when they come out?
Probably, but
only if you could drive with them, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the glasses are dependent upon features that aren't shipping yet.
Right.
Like for me, it would be useful once you get an S Lady that works well, or AI that actually has some of the features they talked about that aren't quite ready. Then, same with the watch, being able to hold a conversation with your watch and pull out more information, having the glasses be able to display some extra things. That seems, because you don't really want to be standing there with glasses and a virtual keyboard typing while you're wandering down the street or driving. So I think we'll see it elsewhere before the glasses ship.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this before on the show. You're probably sick of hearing it, but I had a pair of Google Glass when they first came out, and I thought, this is really possible. And given the amount of change in technology, the advancements with Apple Vision Pro and what they learned from doing Apple Vision Pro, I think it's really close. And I'd be excited to see it be sort of a souped up Google Glass with all the functionality for notifications, for directions, for audio, having the S Lady to be able to ask questions to once she gets smarter. all of those things I think would be really exciting to have, whether it's connected to your phone through Bluetooth or connected to a puck or connected to your phone through wired. But I really think they're going to try and avoid tethering altogether. But I think it's pretty cool of what the possibilities are. There's some technology that we've already heard about, and I think we'll talk about when we talk about future issues with Vision Pro, but this technology related to smart glasses changing focus on a tap.
Right.
And this is an article out of Mac Observer, an explanation of how adjustable lenses systems work. And they've already said that the next Apple Vision Pro might have adjustable lenses. And basically, it's a stack of liquid crystal cells embedded with a passive matrix and electronic array. So it can shift to focus, and you can either through touch be able to do that and make those shift. They have a little diagram that in the article. Again, everything will be posted in the show links with the idea that you can have this active lens. Now, I'm sure it's not going to deal with all the necessary issues that people have with vision areas. I don't think this will supplant inserts, but in some cases it could be very helpful. Like when I use my Vision Pro, I have inserts that I wear when I don't have my contact lenses in. But when I have my contact lenses in, I don't need that kind of adjustment. However, lenses within there that would be adjustable. My prescription is not really that complicated. So it's an interesting possibility with this, the idea of having these adjustable lenses. And then they go a step further in another article in Mac Observer where they talk about display positioning and how this might be built into the next Vision Pro headset. So it will, how we're constantly adjusting and how it's giving us news and notification about how we have to adjust it up or adjust it down and shift it on our face. This might be able to happen automatically with at least some of the head mountable device designs that they have, displays that they have in terms of how to change the positioning on it.
It's good news, actually, if that is the case, because I struggle sometimes, in especially keeping them clean, and you start to see a little bit of blurriness and spots, and I got the cleaning cloth that I try to keep it as clean as I can, but to adjust them perfectly would be pretty amazing.
And then the article that I alluded to was the next Apple Vision Pro might come with interchangeable lenses, modular optics for better personalization. So all of this is what they're talking about. And then this I thought was an interesting article. Apple pushes hand gesture tech forward for Macs and Vision. So really developed with the Vision Pro, but now it looks like we might be getting it on other platforms. And this is according to Patently Apple, that they're going to be doing more with hand gestures, and then they're going to look at introducing it into other devices like keyboard or mouse. So, and we saw that in a Patently Apple a couple of weeks ago where they showed a desktop being used for those kinds of purposes.
And there's also talk about you being able to open applications with your eyes, if that's what we're anticipating. That's going to happen in a couple weeks with the Vision OS 3.
That would be, in the eye of, because it's registering your iris. I mean, it knows whose eyes are there. And I predict it'll be something like blinking or blinking twice. Like, as Dave said, I dream a genie.
That's right.
For those old timers who remember that show.
How can I forget?
Yeah.
Oh, Major Nelson.
I was really thinking about Genie, not about Major.
Jeez. I'm just mimicking what she said. Sorry, Master.
They had to put Master. They had to put a jewel in her belly button because they couldn't show a naked belly button on television in those days. But we digress.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping if they can add enough of the hand gesture that you can get some of what people look for in a touchscreen without actually having to have a touchscreen on some laptops, especially if the cameras in the AirPods come out to be able to see your hands or hand movement. So I'm waiting.
One of the apps we'll talk about tonight is a game that Eric said, hey, take a look at this. And so I did, like the hour before the show, and it involves a lot more hand gestures than most games I've been with. And it's interesting because it's fully utilizing that technology that's available on Vision Pro. So let's talk about the competition and Google and some hands-on experience with Google and the disappointment that people have had with the hands-on experience on the current beta. First, an interesting article is, I think, a discussion with Sergey Brin admits mistakes over Google Glass.
A little bit.
A little bit of privacy and just looking like a dork. And I'll be honest with you, with my Google Glass, I really didn't wear them in public because it was just, as much as I wanted to, I didn't wear them in public. And I got a set because they were talking about how they could use them for observing teaching and observing classroom behavior if you had them on. But people were so freaked out that we were videoing them at the time. And then, that was long before TikTok. So now everybody wants to be on video constantly and wants to stream constantly. But back then when they came out, people were freaked out about it. And God forbid you walked into a bathroom with a pair of those on your headset, because then you're just a creep. I never really took them out in public. I would show them and demonstrate them in classrooms and with teachers, but never use them as much. But he admits to some of these problems that the original Google Glass had, and likes the idea that some of these things like XReal's latest device and Android XR are kind of advancing this, so you have this thing that actually looks like a pair of glasses instead of a wire with a prism on your forehead that's projecting this stuff. Interesting kind of reminiscence on his part about that. But then this was an interesting article by Engadget. Yeah. Google gave me a short, this is from the author, Google gave me a short demo of the prototype device that we saw on stage. Only got a few minutes with the device, so my impressions, unfortunately, are very limited, but I was immediately impressed with how light the glasses were compared to Meta's Orion prototype and Snap's augmented reality spectacles. At the same time, there were some notable differences. One of the complaints, I think, was a small field of vision.
Yeah, that ain't good.
Yeah, but it's not surprising. I mean, versus a headset that wraps around most of your field of view versus ones that are coming out of spectacles. It's not surprising that the field of view isn't very big.
Nope, not at all.
I honestly still have a lot of questions about Google's vision for XR and what eventually Gemini-powered smart glasses will be capable of.
Mm-hmm.
Also, as with so many mixed reality demos I've seen, it's obviously still very much in the early days. So yeah, I think they maybe do more danger by writers play with the prototypes that aren't really ready yet. Apple didn't invite people in to play with the prototype. They just said, hey, we're doing this. And then 18 months later, they had it.
Versus they didn't let it, you couldn't touch the Vision Pro when it was first announced.
Yeah. So I think they do themselves more harm by saying, look at all the cool things they could do. But then the authors of these articles are not very positive on it.
Rightfully so. There's not much they can see.
And here's another one. Well, this is an article basically about Carissa Bell's article, which was also part of Engadget. So this is Engadget writing an article about an article that was published in Engadget.
That's Engadget.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that. And then we get into a completely different topic. So yeah, Google Glasses. Apple, don't look over your shoulder. Just keep running. Don't pay attention to the competition because the competition isn't there yet. And if they are, they're going in a different direction.
I mean, the other thing I got impressed of, I haven't really had enough chance to play with it much, was with the Gemini app that has the ability to being able to take a picture and actually give you information with an actually using AI to be able to find out even more about it. I know that's something that a lot of places have been looking at. It's in fact, being able to brainstorm live using your voice, doing interviews and responses, and you can do that too. Having that ability, so they added some of those features, but ChatGPT can do a lot of that stuff too. So
Yeah, yeah. I don't have a lot of faith in other platforms yet because of the security and privacy issues.
right,
And what people are giving up in that process. Brian mentions, and that article just answered how I wonder how difficult it would be to change out lenses to update a eye or eye prescription price wise. And if that article and that other article just answered it, if it comes true, I remember before the Vision Pro was released, there were rumors about how these automatic changes to adapt to your eyes needs. So I think he's referring to our past discussion about the potential for Vision Pro's next development to be with these automatic changeable lenses. But there is nothing in terms of eyewear with regard to the Google option that they're talking about. I couldn't find anything about prescription. And if you order prescription with them designed, built into it, I think with the Meta version, they're going to have like 2 layers of glass, one that is your prescription and the other that is the actual screen for it. But that didn't seem to be what was the indication with Google at this point. So this article we have talked about in other capacities, in other places, WWDC 25 Vision OS 3 wish list. This is an article by Wesley Hillard. It was published on May 21st, so 5 days ago. And it is his wish list. And it's long. It talks about, I'll just go through some of the titles, more native Apple made apps. So Apple needs to kind of port over its own apps to be functional within Vision Pro. Immersive environments and controls, or new immersive environments and the ability to control them. Permanent anchoring for windows and objects. So you can kind of leave the room, come back and anchor them. Or when you turn it on and off, the objects return to their positions. Updates for Mac Virtual Display, improved eye tracking, and also other possible updates. Improvements in personas.
Oh, I'm all for that.
VR controllers. I don't have a problem with personas. It is what it is. It's maybe not the best replica of me, but it's close enough.
Do you have issues with other people in meetings not liking the persona? Yeah.
Oh, I never enter meetings with my Vision Pro on. That's just too incredibly dorky for the people that I work with.
Even using the persona versus
even using the persona. Yeah, they've like, Jency is showing off again.
That's right.
Isn't that quaint? He wants to play it with his toy while we're having a meeting.
Well, when you and I did Apple user group, Mac user group, and one of the members, which I know pretty well, was using it. I mean, he took a bold way in doing it. And he likes to use it in meetings. So, and everybody reacts differently.
When I first got it, I got into Mac user groups in my persona, and it was fun to try it out. And because the groups are all being run by Zoom, so we do that. But now I'm going to put this in a way that it's easier for me to multitask during meetings when I don't have my headset on.
Yeah.
I got the camera right here. I've got my face right here, and I've got screens that I can work on either around the camera or on either side of the camera. And I can get away with not paying attention much easier because it's just a lot of stuff going on. I don't want to go into Mac Virtual Display so I can do work. I can much easier do it without it in meetings. So,
yeah, I've actually found recently going to meetings with Mac Virtual Display with the headset on, so that I have 3 large displays up with all my stuff on it, has been more productive recently. Now, every once in a while, you get somebody that looks at you funny, but when you can see all of the information and you don't have to do that window flipping, then it's worth it.
Yeah,
You know,
I
being
live in a
able to see everything too is helpful. You know, because you can blow the window size up so the fonts are all big enough.
yeah. The thing too is I live in a 3-screen world. So if I'm in meetings, it's generally from home here, and I've got 3 screens to play with. So it's different.
Hmm.
You're in an often, I think, on the road or in a work environment where you don't have access to that, and so the idea of using
Yeah.
a virtual display is better. Question from Brian: when pinning objects in a space, can you currently have multiple desktops? In other words, if you can pin certain windows, can you have one pin set up for fun, the other one pin set up for work? I don't think you
Wow.
can. It's just the full, it's like another monitor. So you can't pull things. And that's one of the things they're talking about, or one of the things on the wish list is that I wish I could pull my app out of Mac Virtual Display and just having it run as an app.
Mhm.
So, I can have the game floating up here while I've got other things going on my Mac Virtual Display. That's the best response that I can give at this point. And I don't know.
Although there was an app that would let you pull a window out of a Mac screen and then display it separately. So you could have the Mac virtual display and look at something, and then you could pick one window out of an app and then have it floating. It didn't always work, and it was sometimes update times were a little laggy, but it's if all you needed was a status window, that kind of worked. I only
But
half recommend it. Yeah.
and that's wherein lies there's some improvements that need to happen with the Mac Virtual Display. The fact that you have to be able to see the keyboard, which is going to be below that screen, and still use it, and you're with the headset and you're doing your thing, you're moving the mouse, using, or if you're using a trackpad, Magic Trackpad or keyboard. And I know there've been talk about potentially bringing keyboards up onto the screen. Maybe your eyes can use them. So maybe they're looking at something like that. I mean, we do it right now, but we still have to, tap to get your passcodes entered when you first boot up. So are they looking at that type of thing with the Mac and being able to interact with the Mac instead, being able to move things around, with your fingers as opposed to having to go to your mouse and move it? Because
Yep.
that's really all it is right now. It's just virtualizing a display. I mean, it's just like having 3 screens. You have it all on these screens, but you still have to interact with a mouse and a keyboard in order to manipulate what's on the screen.
Yeah,
Yes.
there are some good articles about speculation with what's going to happen at WWDC. Actually, what we're going to do is probably focus on more of that. We're going to spend most of the show next week talking
Yeah, we'll have
about
some more.
what we can expect coming up. And then the one after that, the following Monday, they'll do the keynote and the State of the Union, I guess, after that, or State of the Platform.
Yep. Be very
After
busy.
that. And it'll be a busy day. It'll be a day that they'll think I'll be at work.
Oh, I will. I don't have a choice. Lots going on.
Yeah, I've blocked it out. I think somebody has got a scheduled appointment for me in the middle of the afternoon. I can't get out of it. But the show that we do 2 weeks from this Monday night, we'll kind of do a rundown of Vision Pro stuff that came out
Recap.
in WWDC and what we can expect from it. And God forbid if they have the beta come out that same day, because I'm going to have a
They
really
will.
busy.
Don't worry.
Yeah, great, wonderful. Me and
That's how they roll.
other people.
Developers are itching.
Thanks, guys. So I'm not going to go much deeper into any of these other articles, but there's one that I put up, the Apple Insider WWDC 25 Vision OS 3 wish list is really kind of a good thought-provoking article of different things that it could do. For me, that's, let's get the wager board out and figure out what's the percentage possibility that this is going to happen, or is this just more of a pipe dream? What's the likelihood that some of these changes are going to occur? He doesn't mention a few that I think are really going to happen, but we'll save that for next week when we get a chance to meet. And then there are other articles, what's to be expected. Another one from Macworld, WWDC is coming. These are the 7 things I can't wait to see. Yeah, well, you might be waiting a long time. Although I
like
think
this
this
long list of
Babel,
apps.
yeah, this one has a comment on it that I think was pretty cool about Babelfish becomes a reality. The idea that, from Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide. And we're just about there, with Google Translate, earbuds paired, Apple's moving in that. And I think that's where Apple Intelligence is going to be moving too with it. So there's some cool stuff in here for you to read through. There were a couple articles I wanted to get to. This one in particular, they're talking about major redesign with iOS 19, with Mac OS, and with tvOS. And what they want to do is they kind of want to make them uniform. I don't think that's a bad idea. I think people get lost going from operating system to operating system because things function differently on the iPad than they do on the iPhone than they do on Apple TV. And guess what the unifying form factor is? Vision OS. They say that they're going to take a lot of the elements of Vision OS and redesign the other OSs to be able to look and feel like the, I guess, kind of translucent, windowy, icon-based way of an operating system. And this article does a nice job of explaining. This is according to another Gurumer from Mark Gurman. It's going to have more of a glass-like appearance. He put it on his overpriced Power On newsletter, and they're basically going to look at this for a lot of different Mac OS platforms. So interesting.
Them to look at information from Gurman, but we don't. Why pay for it? It's all out there. Some capacity.
Yeah, you just have to slam it all together. That's the thing.
Yeah. All right. It's worth my extra time, not what paying them.
So, yeah, I thought that was an interesting article. And the last thing I kind of want to talk about, and I don't know if you spent much time with this article about Apple used human instructors with Apple Vision Pros to train humanoid robots. And, the base article is an Apple Insider, and it's, kind of interesting. And it talks about creating different previous robotic efforts, including a creation of a robotic lamp, among other things. But Apple's latest study, they did a study on this, deals with humanoid robots specifically. A research paper called Humanoid Policy versus Humanoid Policy - Human Policy. And it's using cameras. And then you get this great explanation of the model here. And I've got a couple of articles on this. Another one comes from 9 to 5 Mac. Apple study teaches robots how to act by watching first-person videos of humans. So we are creating the devices that will eventually enslave us. So using the different trackers that are available in Apple Vision Pro and some attachments. And then this last one is the actual article. This is freaky cool, because this is the link to Human as Robot, GitHub.io.
Yeah, GitHub, yeah.
And it shows how it's using Vision Pro in this case, there's a video of a robot. After it sees the hands from a Vision Pro pouring something into a glass, the robot then repeats the behavior. It is so cool. Then it's got some other versions picking up and placing objects.
Full grid of videos.
So I would encourage listeners to check out these links about the robots and particularly human policy, the human policy area. Okay. So those are three articles on the robot things. Now we've got apps to talk about. And whoa, hello. You guys have been playing with the show notes. You had a bunch of stuff in here.
I did? I didn't. Looks like Eric did.
Eric did.
You said you wanted apps, and there were lots of question marks. So for each question mark, I added an app.
All right. Well, here we go. Let's see if I
buckle
get
up.
These. Yeah, buckle up. I was sitting there watching Bono, and you were adding apps in.
Well, we don't have to do all of them, but
yeah.
I'd say pick like 2 or 3.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go with the first three, and I'll say that because the fourth one, very nice clocks. I've been contacted by the developer who listens to us, and I'm like, hey, you ought to come on the show sometime. So maybe after we get through WWDC, I'll get him to come in and talk about very nice clocks
Oh,
and
so we
his
could probably skip
project.
all the clock stuff and do the railroad.
You want to do the railroad? We can do the railroad. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the first,
Oh, that's
second,
a
and the railroad.
that's a piece of
I'll tell you a dirty joke about toy trains
after
after the show.
yeah.
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 Okay. So let's go to the first one, Reality Guard.
So did you get a chance to do some playing with it?
Yes, I did. I made it through level one, which for me was incredible because I did it in this small room. I have like a 14 by 14-foot room that's cluttered with tech and tables and things like that. But I managed to find space on my floor to be able to at least get through round one with a tower and, I don't know, people attacking the tower or objects attacking the tower. Did you get to play with it?
It, it was fun. So you fire up the game, and the first thing it does is it scans the room that you're in, and you so that it kind of knows where everything is. And then there are two primary pieces. You get a castle and you get a portal, and you place those two objects. But it doesn't matter what's in the room. So what I did is I waited until my dog was asleep on the bed, and then I mapped the room with the sleeping dog lump in the middle. And then I put the castle on one side of the dog and the portal that the guys come through on the other side of the dog. So they come out the portal, march across over the top of the dog and down, and then attack the castle. And then I put an array of cannons and archery equipment all alongside the dog to shoot at the creatures coming across. It added a whole extra element. And
You
was
sent me
fun.
some pictures. You sent me some pictures of your dog lying on the bed and all these objects running around it.
And the dog didn't notice a thing.
It's $5.
Yeah.
Anything else? I mean, like I said, I made it through round one. It's tempted me to make it through round two, but I'm going to lay it out in a. I'm going to level two. I'm going to lay it out in a bigger room. I think just so I have a little more freedom of movement.
Yeah, it helps a lot to have the castle and the portal further apart.
Yeah.
Make it a trip that once they come through, the creatures come through the portal, they have to go a bit of a distance to get to the castle to attack it. And the more lumps and hills and valleys, the more interesting it is.
The thing for me, and I mentioned this earlier on in the show, was that it says you're going to learn how to do things with your hands that aren't explicitly part of. We're not going to explain it to y'all. You got to figure out how to do it. So with the turret that I had, it was aimed at people coming through the portal, and it was doing a fairly middling job. And then I pointed my finger to where they were getting closer to the castle, and the turret turned and then started shooting at the ones closer to the castle. So there's a kind of different kinds of discovery that I'm curious about. The other thing that kind of freaked me out when I first started the game was it was like, okay, pick a turret. It's 200 points. And I'm like, wait a minute. Is this going to be one of those ka-ching pay for points?
Yeah, but it isn't.
It isn't. It's like you earn points by killing things coming to your castle, and then I guess that goes into your pile that you can purchase other objects with when you want, or use to get other objects when you want. So,
and there's strategies, like you hold your hand up, and then that brings up the menu of like archery devices you can get, and to upgrade an archery device, you need 3 archery devices. So, over time, if you get a set of them, then there's an upgrade button you can click, and it kind of coalesces and gives you a better archery or better cannon. And it was entertaining enough I could let the dog sleep. He said that's what you're supposed to do.
All right, let's go on to the next one. Dave, do you have any interest in this castle? Reality Guard. You're not much of a gamer?
Not much. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks interesting. I might, it's $5 to check it out and may not like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking at the video. I was looking at the video. It looks interesting.
Yeah. Eric will give you a refund.
Yeah.
And the more cluttered a room is, the more entertaining, because you get more hills and valleys and things.
Well, in that case, I should have a really good time at my house.
Yeah, throw out a pillow or something, it'll map over the top of it, and then you get a mountain thing, and they have to go through a valley and then back up. And
I'll just say, Aileen, can you just lay down in the middle of the living room for a while?
But don't move.
Don't move.
Because we got to align the rockets and
Okay, here's the next one, which I think is appropriate. We're recording this on Memorial Day, and this does not come out expected May 27th. So it's expected tomorrow. And it's $5, and it's D-Day, the Camera Soldier. Eric, you found this and put it in there. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, and there's a website you can visit so you can get the backstory of a daughter who didn't know anything about her father's role in World War II. And it says an unexpected message sent her on a journey from her home in Connecticut all the way to Normandy. And then evidently that was enough to kind of build this whole project. And it's supposed to be a combination of cinematic storytelling and immersive technologies and some object photography. So yeah, evidently, so once you get all of the pictures and the objects, you can see kind of some of what people saw. Since it's not out yet, I can't get any further than that, but it sounded interesting and seemed like an appropriate day to mention it. We won't know until next week.
Yeah,
how it went.
On the App Store preview, it does have a cool video simulation where you can start looking through the artifacts and looking at video and the interview with the daughter and showing your hands. And so this looks like a really cool way of interacting with the documentary.
And it's a 20-minute experience blending cinematic storytelling with immersive technologies, bringing the past back to life. Yeah, for those who are watching the YouTube video, I did expand that video and played it. It's a short, like 30-second video that gives you pieces of it that Dave is talking about. So yeah, another interesting app and really appropriate in terms of that. And then our last one for tonight, avoiding the clock stuff, we're going to Table Railroad, and it's available only on Vision Pro, which is always nice.
And this one, it looks like you can do more with it, and I didn't. I just picked the default track that was there and added a steam train to it, and then you can adjust the speed so you can go faster and slower. There's a kind of a relocate option, and it gives you a little stick to lift it up and down and push it to a different area, and the track shows up again. But you get steam coming out of the train. The train does not fall off the track, and I just find it relaxing. Yeah. And you can do different gauges. So you can do O or HO or N. And it lets you actually do more, where you can design a track and add layouts and so on. I didn't get into that part, because the part I find relaxing is just watching the train go around. And it was nice because you can lift the track up and suspend it in the air above your desk. So even though you've got a lot of work kind of cluttering up in front of you, you can lift it up so you can still see it, and then drive the train around in a loop. I just find that relaxing.
I mean, that's what enthusiasts of little trains. Yeah.
Can you put objects in front of the train and have it derail?
The track, it stays clear. The track stays clear. For
Yeah.
$6, you get a clear track, and it successfully makes it around. It doesn't fall off. So
I
it's
want the
not totally realistic.
I want the federally deregulated version. I'll pay
Oh,
$3 for that patch so I
that
can
cost
put things on the train.
Well, it says in the notes, it says there's more planned for the future releases.
Future release. Okay, I'm gonna contact the developer Zenshui Yang and suggest that he deregulate his railroad. Eric, did you have a train, or David, did you have a train set when you were a kid?
So I had a little set. Yeah, I played with it years ago, but I gave up on it pretty quickly. But it's always intrigued me when you go to like museums who have those big, like in Chicago, the Science and Industry Museum, and have that train that goes around the whole area there, and you see how they have actually conductors and engineers managing it, and it was always a fun way to watch that. And yeah, I played with it, but I didn't get into this. So many other people when they just go crazy and take up their whole basement and then some.
Yeah, that is what's going on in my mother's house right now.
Uh-huh.
She passed away about 9 years ago, and my older brother, went nuts. And we had one section of the basement that's filled with a HO size, and the other section, which is an O size.
I like the O's.
And yeah, and those you could put little pellets in the top, and it would heat up and it would make smoke. And I was regulated to the HO or the O version. My brother built like landscapes with trees and
crazy
tunnels and everything on this board. And now we can't figure out how to get it out of the basement. And, his sons are saying, one son is saying, I'd really like that. It's like, okay, we need to figure out how to do that. But he's got some great stuff, I'm sure, in there. I never knew about an N. Now I'm curious about the N, which is
N's the small ones.
Yeah, that's the suitcase one. You could carry it in a briefcase and then open it up over lunch and then run it. I always wanted
Is HO the Lionel cars, or is that's a different one?
The HO is kind of the default one that most kids ended up playing.
Yeah, I had the HO. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The Lionel ones, what's that?
Those big ones.
That's like Lionel.
So they're a little bit more sturdy. And then you can
they're much bigger too.
Yeah. I'll have to go look at pictures of it. I might be confusing. Now, 32 millimeter, they're talking about track width, I'd assume. Okay, so yeah, I don't think we had an O. I think we had an HO and maybe an N. That my brother was doing the smaller, whatever it was. So, well, that wraps it for apps. And we will next week. I don't know if we'll have apps or we'll be talking about predictions and also talking about the U2, the Bono video, and spending some time with our reactions or reflections on that. Now, I did do something this weekend. I went to Cruisapalooza, is what I call it. The Tom Cruise 2-hour and 49-minute Mission Impossible Part 2. And
how was it?
You actually saw the movie?
Yeah, I went and saw the movie.
Okay.
How was it? A couple of stunts in it were pretty cool. The plot was so twisted. So after about an hour into the movie, I said, I'm going to stop listening to the plot and trying to follow it, because the entity does this, then the entity does that. But you can't really tell if it's the entity because it could be the entity. And it just was a weakly strung together plot. And that made for what I think was a weak movie outside of some of the stunts. And there's a lot of bare-chested Tom Cruise in there. There's just a lot of, look at me, I'm 63, and, he's
going out with a bang. This is his last one.
Yeah, there's some, paging Dr. Freud on this one. It's just, people might have liked it, but most of the reviews I've read are, didn't think it was that good. And really, the plot was the biggest problem with it.
I'll wait for folks. I'll wait for it on streaming.
Yeah, let's scare people about AI again. They did that 2 years ago, and let's even make it more scary. And I won't do any spoilers for you, but that was my experience. But I will probably put up a slide of it at MacStock, because I'll be talking about AI at MacStock, and this movie is kind of a paranoid's dream about what can happen with AI. So max.conferenceandexpo.com. It's a great conference that occurs in north central Illinois, close to the border of Wisconsin. Eric will come down. Dave will drive over. I'll drive from Ohio over. We'll all be there. And it'll be loads of fun. 3 days, July 11th, 12th, and 13th. I don't know how many presentations. We have some what they call workshops, which are 90 minutes. And then mostly we have presentations that are 45 minutes on various topics. And so you'll have a bunch of great people presenting at it. My son will be joining us and will be presenting with me in a presentation on travel tech. And if you want to look and find out about it, it's great if you can be there. It's just great if you can be there because it's a great community of folks and it's not a huge conference, so you're not wading through thousands of people. So it's all held in one hotel in one large ballroom, and you can just walk up to people, sit down, and just have chats with anybody if you have an interest in Mac and Mac technology. We'll all be bringing our Vision Pros there, and I think others will too. And we'll maybe have an evening adventure with Vision Pro. But MacStockConferenceandExpo.com, $50 off with the code PodTalk50. And what's your code, David?
Mine is InTouch50 for InTouch iOS.
Okay. We don't care what code you use. It'll give you $50 off. That's the important part. And then if you can't make it, there will be a virtual pass, which means you'll get all the recordings a month later that you can stream for it. And that runs around, I think, $99 or $100 generally.
$99.
$99. And it's, if you can't make it to the live event, you're going to miss the community, but you'll still get the knowledge through the virtual pass. David, anything you want to add to that?
No, just come see us. My presentation is going to be on screen sharing programs, video and screen sharing programs, and not just the Apple built-in version. There's lots of other great other apps out there that are very powerful that you can do, and everybody's the theme is share. So about how fitting, I'm going to be sharing how to share screenshots.
And Eric, comments? You've been there regular for a while.
Even the lunches are fun because you can sit at different tables each day and get whatever conversations are at that table. So it's the whole thing is just fun.
Yeah, I like to get in there early and choose a table, and then like nobody comes and sits at my table, so I get to eat lunch alone.
We'll go together and see what happens.
Or people, when I start to walk up to a table and there's an empty chair, people like lose eye contact with me immediately. No, it's great. It's great. And if you can't talk to somebody at other times during the conference, you can always see them at lunch and sit down at their table and have a conversation with them. There's not a lot of stuff going on in the hall, People are generally in the session, and when things go on breaks, people will be out in the hall, and you can connect with them that way too. But people really want to hear what folks have to say and attend what's going on in there, and it's great.
You'll also be able to see Mac Geek Gab with Dave Hamilton, Adam Christensen, and Pilot Pete. They're going to do a live Mac Geek Gab on Saturday night. They're coming in just for that. And
we'll be there attempting to record our little shows somehow within the hotel.
We'll be doing two podcasts probably the day before.
Yeah. So, okay. That's MacStock, MacStockConferenceandExpo.com. Dave, where can people find you?
You can find me at InTouchByOS, InTouchByOS.com. Just did a nice refresh of our logos and artwork, and I got some work to do on my website. So if you go there, you can have a little bit of the messy things that are going on right now. I got to fix it. So, but you can still listen to all the shows there, and as well as you can go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/InTouchByOS. Both Marty and Eric join me every week, which is amazing. Always a pleasure having you. As well as I'm on the Mac show on Fridays at the British Tech Network. We have a lot of fun with that. We're gonna have Keynote Bingo coming up here pretty soon for that, and they'll be Marty's first, so he'll get to experience that if he's able to make it. And then I'm on Mac Voices Live, of course, on Tuesday nights with Chuck Joyner and join these gentlemen as well. And social media, I'm on basically anywhere at Dave G65. I'm at Mastodon and Blue Sky, mostly where I try to focus.
Eric, you want to share your whereabouts?
Well, you can find me on Mastodon at EA Bolden at techhub.social. Otherwise, covering all of the OSs. Monday nights here with the Vision Pro, Tuesdays with Chuck and Mac OS, and Thursdays with Dave and iOS. So yeah, it's a good mix all week long.
Yeah.
New
All
things.
covered.
Thank you for joining us, Dave. Eric, it's always
Thank
a
you.
pleasure to co-host this with you. And you can find me at Gensius at mastodon.social or Gensius at bluesky.com. Again, here on Mondays with Chuck Joyner on Mac Voices and this crew on Tuesdays. And Wednesdays, I do some other stuff. I'm doing Old Mac Gang. In fact, I'm bringing one of the Old Mac Gang to Macstock with me. And then Thursdays with Dave on In Touch with iOS and a bunch of other shows that I'm involved in. You can find out at thepodtalk.net. That's our website that connects all the shows and does all that. Thanks for tuning in. We'd love to hear from our listeners. If you have ideas or want to join in on an episode, email us at visionprofilespodcast@gmail.com. Our bumper music is from Free Jazzy by Steve Combs, courtesy of the Free Music Archive. You can learn everything that you need to know about the Vision Profiles podcast at our website, thepodtalk.net. Spread the word to other visionaries. Thank you, chat room, for joining us. We had about 6 or so people running in and out of the chat room through the evening. And thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.